Continue on from last week, I'm gonna go through a few more houses and how I'm valuing them so you can see a couple more examples of that. Thank you to all the people who messaged in and sent through a property for me to go through. Really, really appreciate the support and taking part in that. Next, we've got a 1-bedroom character property for sale. Nothing like the easy stuff this week, I can tell you that. So this is coming from a guy called Josh. Josh, thank you for sending this one in. He did send a couple of photos of what it currently looks like and all the rest of it. Look, I'm gonna assume again, you're valuing this based on what you think it would be worth when it's done up, rather than, you know, what you think it's gonna be worth in its current situation. I don't know if this is one you've bought and you're showing me an example of, you know, the kind of spec it's gonna be. By the way, I like those stairs. They're real funky. I like them a lot. I like the fact you've gone for the gray. I like the fact you've kept the wood in. You haven't tried to rip it all out. You've kept some of the character there. I might have gone with a darker gray, me personally, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's your choice. I like the flooring you've chosen as well. It's a good color laminate to go with. So looking at this house, let's see what we think this will be valued at. It did sell in 2006 for 66 grand. It's on the market for 50. Fair enough. Bit of a shame for them. So I can see from this photo there's some other cottages in that area, so I might have a look at those if needed be. Cottages are a little bit funky. You know, they have some interesting values with them. Lo and behold, in the last 2 years, there's a 3-bed called the Coach House, which is this one here that this is kind of attached onto, that sold for 110 grand. Condition wise, I mean, it's got a bit of a bigger garden that looks like they're going to put some planters around here. Wow, they really show a lot of the inside. Okay, I've got 3 photos of the inside. I've got an avocado bathroom suite. I've got a slightly dated kitchen, but it doesn't look horrible. And that's kind of all I can tell other than what it's like from the outside. So I'd say it's kind of an average condition that needs updating. The thing is with cottages, just because something's dated doesn't mean you're gonna get a down valuation the same way you would in a terraced house. Cottages, people like the character, people who are living in them probably want them to be a little bit dated in some ways. So yeah, and this one went for 110, and it's a 3-bed. Okay. I did do some digging on this house because when I saw it was a cottage, I wanted to get a bit of a head start on it. I looked at the size of it and all the rest of it. It's coming around about 40 square meters, which is small. And I think this one was coming in around about 70 or 80. It's a 3-bed for 110. That house on its own, I would probably say this one's worth 80 grand. Personal opinion. Let's jump out a quarter of a mile and see what else we can find for, let's start with terraced houses. We've got 1. Well, let's have a look at it. 2-bed, as is a 1-bed. What does it say? Open plan living area, 16 or 17 square meters, decent size. 12 square meter bedroom. Jeez, that's good size. I think this was coming in around about 40 square meters when you included everything. Okay, this one isn't too big either. So we've got 29 on the top, 29 on the bottom. So it's about 60 square meters, 59 as it says there. 59 square meters, I think ours is about 40. Much newer place, obviously. Interestingly, the age of the cottage, you could obviously mark yourself down, but then because it's got more character, you can mark yourself up. This is the weird thing about cottages. Cottages will sell for more than you might assume, even though they're really old. This property is in average condition. It needs new carpet, and I would probably change the paint. The paint looks a bit patchy in places, and I'd definitely change the fireplace out. Kitchen's okay. No idea what the bathroom's like, so it's probably not great. I'm kind of still steering towards 80, maybe 90 if it's mint. I also think if you sold this house, you get way more than if you refinanced it, because you could appeal to people's emotions, and especially the kind of people who are going to likely to buy this. They tend to buy things a bit more cash. They tend to steer away from mortgages, a bit more old school. Yeah, I think you could do quite well. I've opened it up to semis because I want to see what else is going on, and officially this other coach house is a semi. We've got a 2-bed here and another 2-bed here, which aren't too far away, which I want to have a look at. This is a bungalow. Now, bungalows and cottages aren't a million miles apart. 2 rooms, doesn't tell me how big it is, but I can get a vibe from the sizes of the photos of the rooms, and that's probably a 10 to 12 square meter room. That's probably 16, 17 as well. Does have a conservatory, decent bathroom, decent sized kitchen. So I think it is a little bit bigger. It's probably coming on 50 or 60 square meters. Went for 115. Definitely you're not going to be getting anywhere near 115 then. What we can say is we can begin to rule out some of the top end values. Again, 2-bed, bungalow. This one's 49 square meters. So again, this is a little bit bigger. This one for 100 grand. Condition isn't quite as good as I think you could get that cottage to be. If this was in mint condition, maybe 110. So I think maybe maxing out at 90 for the cottage. You never know, you could put it on the market and you could sell it for 100. Someone will come in and pay way over the odds, like the first house we viewed. I'm now gonna have a look at detached houses. But I'm gonna go from price ascending. So I wanna see some of the smaller ones. That kind of looks new. That is new. I don't want to value a new build. Let's have a look at this one. Some cottages you'll find sometimes come out as detached. Dated, definitely got some period features to it. Big garden, yeah, not really a comparable I can use there. I was hoping to find a few cottages. This one's actually on the same street. And this is another bungalow, big bungalow as well. And as you can see, because it's designed to be sold to people who are slightly more mature of age, apart from the pink room, obviously, they take a lot of photos of the outside of the house, all the grounds it comes with, the garden, the beautiful views. When you're marketing your houses, you've got to be thinking about this. Who are you selling your house to? Now for 190, that's a lot bigger. Yeah, again, the same as the previous one. I would say definitely speak to some agents. And if you're that bothered, get a RICS valuation. Personally, I'm gonna say 80 to 90K, and if I was to go with it, probably 83,000. I'd go with 83,000 for this. It's on for 50. In terms of work, you might get away with a cheap one at 15 grand. I'd probably spend somewhere around 20 on it. I don't know if it's got any problems or not. If I thought this was worth 82, something like that, then 20 grand on it, that would be a fairly reasonable asking price. It's a difficult one. Definitely a difficult one to value. I like that, but I'd go in mid 80s. That's where I'd be coming in for a valuation on that. The last one we're gonna go through today is a flat. Now, flats are an interesting one to value. Usually you either have no comparables or you have hundreds of comparables. The thing you gotta be careful for though is the size. The size of the flat is massively gonna affect the valuation. You can have a 2-bed flat that's 50 square meters. You can have a 2-bed flat that's, 100 square meters. Completely different. Obviously one's gonna be worth an awful lot more than the others. You gotta look out for that. A guy called Jack sent this one in. So Jack, thank you so much for sending this property in. This one's in Weston-super-Mare. I have been down to Weston-super-Mare before. We nearly bought a block of flats in Weston-super-Mare. Again, we want to jump on the sold comparables. We want to see what this place is worth. Before I do that though, I'm going to have a quick look at the condition, if we can see any sort of amenities that are likely to come with it. Apparently we've got 3 double bedrooms. Goodness me, this is a cool looking flat. This is big. We've got 3 bedrooms. The only downside really is you do have a separate WC, but you've got a bathroom upper floor. It'd make way more sense if you chopped a bit of space out of one of these, even in the dining room here, if you converted that storeroom and put a bathroom in there, I think that'd make way more sense. But hey, I didn't build this place. Good condition. No idea if it comes furnished or not, but it's, good high ceilings, interesting size. I think it's time to have a look at some sold comparables. So, 1/4 mile. In fact, I'm gonna see if there's anything in the same area sold in the last 2 years first before we get cracking. We've got one. We're for 125 grand. We'll ignore that. I also really want to look at flats. So the 1/4 mile. Oh, okay. So this is one of those ones where we've got loads of comparables, which is really, really awesome. So this is on Claverdon Road. We're not actually having it on Claverdon Road. We've got a lot very, very similar. Looking recently, there's not a huge amount that's been selling anywhere near up that. But then I can also tell without even clicking on some of these links. If we look at this one, I mean, it's not as nice and it's tiny in comparison. So I am actually going to go for price descending and see if we can get some similar looks. Okay, so we do have one on that went for 215, number 3 Clarence Grove Road, Weston-super-Mare. I would need to know how big these are. So some things you can sometimes do, if you just Google, when people build blocks of flats, you can often find information about them. So I'm just going to go and have a look. I'm not really interested. Sorry, it's a 2-bed, 1 bath. Awesome, useful to know how many beds it's got, and that one went for 215 grand. So it's looking good for a 200K value on that other flat. Sometimes you can get little bits of information, and you might find an old listing for some of the information about it and how big it is and all that sort of stuff. But it's a decent sized place. So to be honest, mate, 200 grand for this, based on one comparable alone, I'd be happy to pay it. So after a fair bit of Googling, I was able to come across some of the information I needed. So this flat 2 here, Silvercombe 19, Clarence Road North, etc., that's over 195, is 68 square meters. This 3-bed is over 150 square meters. Quite frankly, I think whoever's bought this has got especially if they got it for 200K, has done very, very well. So in the quarter of a mile, I mean, the most expensive one here is number 3 on Clarence Road. There's no way that this one is worth anything less than that. So, I mean, it depends what you're buying for and what you want to value something at. But me personally, if I was buying this to sort of rent out, maybe a service accommodation, I presume this is what people are looking to do. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to pay 200K for it. It's easily worth more than that, unless there is a problem with it. I mean, you can see it's all of the top half of that building, plus a little bit at the top. They could have put 4 flats in that rather than 2, and I got way more money for it. But so yeah, there's nothing actually anywhere near that big. So what you'd want to do is find a really nice 2-bed, 1-bed flat, whatever, similar kind of condition that's an awful lot smaller. Let's say it's 50 square meters, you just multiply the value by 3. I want to have a look at this Silvercombe development, see if we've got any images. I'm assuming it's this thing. It's a bit horrible, actually. It's not nice at all. Jeez, look at that. It's disgusting. No wonder it sold for less. So yeah, they didn't do a very good job there. Clarence Grove Road. See if we can find out what this one looks like. Google really is your best friend sometimes. It looks all right. I mean, I don't know which one it is, but none of them here look particularly horrible. And obviously, if you go into maps and then drop your little man, you can have a look around at the condition of it. Sometimes when you're valuing houses, you just have to take your time and get everything. That's probably number 3, to be fair. That says number 5. Hang on. There's number 3. And it looks like it had some work doing to it. So yeah, this is a similar kind of property in terms of its exterior looks. It's in a fairly nice little neighborhood. Some more stuff going on over there. That one sold for 215 and is a fair bit smaller. Again, when I was doing a little bit more digging on the sizes of these, trying to get some more information about them, this one is far bigger than the others. This was coming in around about 130 square meters. The other one is a little bit bigger. Based on that, I have no idea what the condition is, assuming it's all right. Exterior wise, it looks about the same. Obviously, the appearance of the block itself does influence the values of the flats within the block. But this one at 215 is a 2-bed, and it's about 130 square meters. This one's a little over 150 square meters. It's a 3-bed. I would say you're looking at around about 230,000, something along those lines. But it's worth noting that it was on for 200 and didn't sell for that. So there's not a huge sales market for it. And even though you've got plenty of sold comparables to go with it, it doesn't necessarily demand that sort of value. And sometimes you've got to bear in mind that if a house is on the market for an awful lot less than it's actually worth, and especially if it hadn't sold, I mean, it's on the September 2020, right? And we're now in October. So, you know, given how hot the market is, I'm not surprised. But yeah, I think he probably went for a lot more than 200 as well. I don't know if Jack actually bought this or not, and it's sold subject to contract. It might have gone for an awful lot more than 200. There's a good chance that was the case as well. But again, I just get on the phone, start speaking with agents, and maybe go through every single sold comparable at how big they are, work out the condition, factor that in, and come out with an opinion at the end based on how big the apartments are. But yeah, 230 probably be my sort of rough estimate for that one. Again, it'd be really, really good to see it so I can physically see the condition in person. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to tell from online. If you're valuing something from a buy, refurb, refinance perspective, then you need to know how good your properties look when they're done. And I know that because I've been around a lot of houses that we've finished recently, and well, they look awesome and they always rent really, 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 really well. Good property, good value. I think if you got that for 200, you get a really, really good price on it. So that's how I value houses. It's all about sold comparables. Then I want to have a look at the condition. Sometimes I want to have a look at some similar properties if I can't find the exact same ones. Normally, I'll be honest with you, they're nowhere near as difficult as these. Most of the time, it's just you see a house and there's a number of other houses on similar streets that are pretty much identical. It's not this complicated. Every now and again, you're going to get one that is. You just got to work through it. Take your time, work it out, go through what you need to go through. Don't rush it. At the end of the day, you can't afford to be wrong on your values. Worst case, start speaking to agents, get their opinion. You want to speak to at least 10 in the area, but I personally speak to all of them. If you can go in and speak to them in person, then do that as well. And finally, get a RICS valuation. If you need to get a RICS valuation, get a RICS valuation. If you're doing developments, wow, get yourself a RICS valuation before you even move to like putting your finance application in. There's too much money on the line. For the sake of £1,000, if you can afford the planning fee, you can also afford to pay for the RICS valuation. covers yourself. So make sure you don't have any unwelcome surprises. And it's something you can use if you're raising finance to give to your investors and say, look, I know how much this development's gonna be worth because I paid for a RICS valuation. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I will do more videos just like this. Thanks to everybody who sent in a house for me to go through. Thank you for making some of them more challenging, and I'll see you next time.